Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's fact. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
The bell has rang once again for episode 18 of the Last Round Podcast. I'm Danny Z alongside Mike Shepard from across the pond for another edition of diving into the boxing world. Like we said last week, there's no off season. Maybe a week. No off season, right?
No, I think Christmas is about the only week that we had off because obviously we had Floyd Mayweather on New Year's Eve.
Oh yeah, I guess that's. It's not a fight. It was an exhibition. But, how was your week? Besides, obviously we watched a lot of boxing. There was a lot of boxing.
Yeah, there's a lot of boxing this weekend. Busy.
Would you call it dramatic boxing? A lot of call-outs?
Yeah, I think dramatic in some senses. I think most of the fights kind of went the way that you kind of expected, all the big ones. Pacquiao, Andrade.
Yeah.
Should kind of setting up for bigger fights later in the year, I think.
Oh, yeah. It's a big setup. And then, at least over here in LA, everybody's going crazy for American football for the Los Angeles Rams making it to the Super Bowl. And in the second year, they've been back in LA. So kind of took the shine away from boxing for a couple days.
Not like real Football. British football.
That's why I said American. I didn't say English, British, American. So it's like our version of rugby, I guess. But this last Friday, in New York, the latest DAZN card, or is it DAZN? DAZN. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, hey, you watch it? Do you watch that DAZN stuff? I was just like, oh, it's DAZN. Like, oh.
Sounds like a washing powder.
What kind of powder do you use? DAZN? Right there on your kitchen sink or on your bathroom sink. Oh yeah, just use the DAZN. It's DAZN, man. Demetrius Andrade gets the decision win over Artur Akavov.
Gets the TKO win.
Oh, was it? Oh, it was a TKO win. That's right.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't really impressed. He calls out Triple G. I get it. He's all hyped up following the win, retaining his WBO middleweight title that, he should have fought Billy Joe Saunders for, but, Billy Joe Saunders had the whole deal with the Massachusetts Athletic Commission, and they stripped him and whatever, and now Andre got the belt by fighting some other guy. So, of course, he's hyped up, and he calls out Triple G. He says he'll destroy him, and that's in quotes. Destroy him. What do you think?
I thought it was a strange stoppage. I think going into the fight, a lot of the media was saying that, Andrade needed a fight where he looked good, against more of a name than when he fought the African guy last time. It looked like, I don't know, the referee had obviously, sided with Matchroom Boxing and decided to help Andrade out and get him that stoppage because I thought it was very, very premature.
Oh yeah, big time.
There was not long left in the fight. It was the 12th round. I'm sure he could have survived until then. Definitely very premature stoppage in my opinion, but I think really instead of looking at someone like Triple G or even Munguia is another one, to try to unify the titles in that division, in my opinion, I think he should fight Billy Joe Saunders. I don't
think they're going to put Munguia in there at this early. I know he's at 154. He's a big kid, but I don't think they're going to do it.
Not yet, too early?
Nah, it's too early.
I'm thinking the WBO eventually because I know obviously he's kind of Billy Joe Saunders has appealed that decision. I think eventually at some point, I think the WBO will tell Andrade he has to fight Billy Joe.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens next.
Because Billy Joe did post something on social media, a picture with him with the belt, and then put something like, I'm coming back for you, or, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but pretty much saying that he was going back after that title. So I think, maybe he knows that, later down the line sometime this year, he's going to fight Andrade. That'll be a good fight. Could be.
I think it's going to happen again.
It could be a stinker though. They've got similar kind of styles. It could be a stinking 12 rounds.
Well, I think we talked about that before. It's like, they're Billy Joe Saunders is obviously a slick boxer. He's good.
Mhm.
He's got talent. Andrade is he's a world champion, but it's like those terms that they say in the boxing journalistic side of things. Is he a world champion or is he a world title holder?
Yeah, more of a world title holder.
You get it?
Yeah.
So, if he would have won that fight, if he would have fought BJ Saunders and won that title off of him, like even if it was a decision win, knocked him out or something, then I think he would be getting the respect, that he wants. Yeah, he's got the world title, but, I think even he knows, like, okay, who have I fought? Like, hey, he calls out Triple G after and stuff, but I don't think he's going to get Triple G. I mean, he might. Triple G might just want another belt or want a belt since he lost all his belts. Okay, I'll fight Andrade, beat Andrade, get a belt to give me more clout in negotiations with Canelo or Danny Jacobs, whoever.
I think Triple G's looking at more of cash out fights, though. I don't know whether there's going to be enough money in that for him, and it's one of those where it's kind of like risk reward.
Yeah.
Like Andrade is skillful. He has more of an amateur style at the minute.
No, yeah. But
does Triple G really need that? What happens if it's a banana skin for him?
Right.
Risk reward. He may pick up a WBO title, doesn't get paid great. But what happens if he slips up? He's not getting any younger. He kind of looked a little bit slower in the second fight against Canelo. Canelo's kind of giving people the blueprint of how to go in there and face Triple G now.
Right.
So to me, I think I don't know if there's enough money in that for him. Another Canelo fight, maybe even a big fight with someone like Callum Smith, someone like that. It's going to be a bigger event, more money.
I think that in terms of money, especially if you go across the pond to fight Callum Smith for Triple G, but it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah, it's a dangerous fight for him. I mean, Callum Smith's huge at that weight division.
He's a big kid.
Yeah, he's huge.
So I don't know. I still honestly think Triple G is going to go to PBC.
You really?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I've been hearing that, he's going to announce something next week, reportedly, and then nothing.
It was supposed to be last week, wasn't it?
It was supposed to be last week.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then there's a whole, controversy with Tom Loeffler. Is he still kind of at the helm, or is he just kind of there as like I don't know. There's different things that's happening there. Tom Loeffler has a 360 Promotions boxing card, I think this weekend, right?
This Sunday
at the Avalon in Hollywood. So if you're out here in LA, check that out. But yeah, I don't know. Eddie Hearn talked about after the fight, the Andrade fight, that he's talked, like you said, he's talked about future fights with Triple G and Munguia. I mean, I get it. Munguia's a DAZN fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Triple G is technically a free agent, so they threw it out there to. Eddie Hearn's he's a promoter. He knows the marketing side of things. He throws it out there like, hey, Triple G might be there. And
he's a good promoter.
So he's like, hey, so he's dangling it out there like, hey, come fight this guy and take his belt. That'll give you more negotiation power. Like, oh, well, I got a world title too. If he tries to get the third fight with Canelo. So I don't know. And Andrade's gonna have to fight somebody solid next. There's no question. I mean, obviously he tried to fight Billy Joe Saunders and it didn't work out. It's not his fault. He was ready. He was willing. He was able. And fortunately for him, I guess, he still fought for the world title and he won it, and now he's defended it once. So, he's doing his thing. He's got, I'm sure he's getting a little bit better paydays now. He's a world champion and everything. But I think even he knows, like, okay, I got to fight one of these top tier middleweights. BJ Saunders, Triple G, Canelo, Jacobs, Charlo. Even if you fight like a guy like David Lemieux, but David Lemieux can't make 160 anymore. So
he has to move up now.
So, I mean, he has to fight somebody.
Yeah, that's what his resume at the minute is missing, really. He's obviously undefeated, but he needs some names now. He always says that he's an avoided fighter. He very well may be with that kind of style that he has. But eventually, he's now that he's got a WBO title, he's going to be able to get those people that he says are avoiding him, into the ring. Mm-hmm. Because now he has something that obviously people want.
Oh yeah, he knows that.
So
he knows that. So he's got an ace in the hole. He's like, okay, well, I wasn't getting any attention or any love before I got this title, so now I'm going to hold on to it as long as I can because it's one of my cards I can play. And he's right. He's right. I mean, that's how a lot of boxing works, is that you might not have a name, but you have a world title. So it's like, okay, well, I don't really want to fight this guy. He's not really that big of a name, but he has a world title. So, I'm going to do it. So, it's a sneaky move, but it happens. It happens. And then moving on to the undercard of that fight, TJ Doheny stops. Okay. Is it Ryu
Takahashi?
I knew the last name, but I'm trying to figure out how to say the first name. I don't know. I was going Street Fighter, Ryu Takahashi, but I'm probably wrong on the first name. I apologize. So Doheny stops him in the 11th round for the IBF Super Bantamweight title. And then this was interesting to me. He's joined in the ring by Danny Roman, who's actually a Southern California fighter right here locally, Thompson Boxing Promotions. Shout out to Thompson Boxing. As they're looking to, which Danny Roman is also a DAZN fighter. And it has the WBA Super Bantamweight title. So obviously, they're planting the seed for a unification matchup. I like it. They both got world titles. Put them against each other on DAZN. What do you think?
I believe it's going to be actually I think around the Easter time, because the rumors are that there's I think it's at the StubHub. What's the StubHub called now?
It doesn't matter. Just call it the War Grounds.
The StubHub.
Call it the War Grounds.
I believe the StubHub's booked for a DAZN card around Easter time. So I think that we could see that fight. Danny Roman making a defense, obviously in his local area. So a unification between him and TJ Doheny. So I think that'd be a good fight.
Is Robert Easter going to be on that card on Easter?
He could be.
All right.
He very well may be.
I like it. If Robert Easter isn't on that card on Easter weekend, I'm very disappointed. So it's marketing at its finest. So shout out to DAZN. You better take advantage of that. But he's a PBC fighter, so it won't happen.
Who would you back in that then? Roman and Doheny?
I like Roman. But I'll admit it. I'm biased towards Roman because he's a local guy. He fought a lot not too far, a couple miles away from our studio here, not too far. Fought a lot there, worked his way up, did suffer a couple losses earlier on, but came back. He's a world champion. And I was really impressed, like we touched on a couple months ago in his last fight on DAZN, which was actually, I think, in New York. I was really impressed with that win. Yeah, same as me against Gavin McDonnell. Yeah.
I think that it would be a similar actual type of fight, clash of styles. I think Roman would be the counterpuncher again, like he did in that with TJ Doheny trying to come in and press the action.
Right.
And I think if Roman actually kind of had this similar game plan to that, I think that could get in the W that night. But similar to you, I'm kind of maybe slightly biased. I'll obviously admit that with him being from this area and fighting locally for Thompson's Boxing.
Nobody's ever going to hire you for anything. You're biased.
But at least I admit it.
Yeah, you're right. We're screwed. But, I like it. Unification fight, both great fighters, but I'm backing Roman in that. But I'm excited. Unification fights, regardless, are always exciting. So I'm happy that's probably on the horizon. And then moving on, Amanda Serrano gets the first round KO over Ava Voraberger. Did I say that right?
That's the way I would have said it.
Voraberger for the WBO Super Flyweight World Championship. She wins the title in her seventh division. She's getting close to that Manny Pacquiao record, which was 8 divisions. Can she break it?
She says that she's happy with 7, and I think because she had to move down, obviously, to pick up that one at the 115, and she said she'd like to defend that maybe once or twice. Then obviously she's got that super fight in the future against Katie Taylor. So it'd be interesting to see what weight they're going to make that at, whether Serrano's going to move back up. Katie Taylor obviously beat her sister,
right?
Towards the end of last year.
Right.
She said the hardest part of the fight was actually making weight, with the fight itself only lasting 35 seconds, and she finished it off with a great body shot.
Yeah.
And then obviously her opponent just couldn't get back up from that. Easy work, really. I think that's probably a record that I can't see being beaten in women's boxing, because I think obviously from now going forwards, I think the stable of fighters in women's boxing is only going to get better, with them now getting on HBO, getting on Showtime, getting on DAZN. I think it's going to draw more people into women's boxing. The money is obviously going to go up, and I think we're going to get a stronger pedigree of fighters. So I think, something like that, I don't see really being beaten.
Yeah. But that's impressive, though. 7 divisions? Regardless if she, hits that 8th to tie Manny Pacquiao.
And the fact that she does MMA as well. She fights in that Combat Americas.
Hey, these female fighters are starting to, dip their toes in both sports. You got Heather Hardy, Amanda Serrano, Chris Cyborg, who actually just suffered a devastating loss not too long ago. Obviously, is talking about jumping into boxing, has been at a couple boxing fights here in LA and, wearing some stuff, drumming up some interest. So it's happening. It's happening. So I think Heather Hardy, who fights under Lou DiBella, I think she had mentioned that she makes more money in MMA.
She fights in Bellator, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why, she says she enjoys it, but she gets paid more. So and I get it. You got to make your money, and if you're able to survive in both sports and do your thing and be good enough to get booked on cards on national TV or global TV, hey, more power to you. I don't see too many guys, going across sports lines like that in terms of, fighting MMA and boxing and stuff like that. I mean, let's count Conor McGregor and those guys, but, that was a crazy once in a lifetime. I don't even call it once in a lifetime. All this crazy stuff keeps happening. And Mayweather's always a part of it, which is a different topic for another show. And then I left this fight for the final topic or the final conversation of this card, the zone card, because this was the moment of the night, the fight of the night in terms of shock value. Pablo Cesar Cano stops Jorge Linares. The guy who knocked down Lomachenko, did I say knocked out or knocked down? Knocked down Lomachenko just last year. Linares, former world champion at 135, who saw this coming in the first round?
It was unbelievable. It wasn't until after the fight that I went back and looked at Linares' record that, did you know that every single time, all 5 times that he's been beaten, they've been KOs. So Lomachenko, TKO in the 10th. Sergio Thompson, TKO in the 2nd.
Dang.
Antonio DiMarco, TKO in the 11th. Juan Carlos Salgado, TKO in the 1st.
Man.
So, when he loses, it's spectacular. It's always going to be a knockout, but I didn't...
Spectacular losses.
Yeah. It's...
I like it.
It was definitely a shock. I didn't see it coming. Me and you actually spoke about, we were at his fight when he moved up to 140, when he fought Abner Cotto, and we both said that he looked good.
Oh, yeah, I was impressed. Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, he still got... Because I even said after that fight, I was like, look, he'd still look good. Just because he lost Lomachenko, it doesn't mean he's a crappy fighter. He's losing it. He still has talent. And that fight, when he beat Cotto at Fantasy Springs out here, I was like, oh, yeah, he's still got it. And he could still, be highly competitive in these fights, maybe with Mikey Garcia and stuff like that. But I don't know, was this a fluke? Was Cano... By the way, Cano looked huge.
Yeah, he looked big. He looked divisions different.
He looks like 2 divisions above Linares. And this fight was at 140. Cano looked huge. And I think what happened is that there's obviously possible scenarios, possible, reasons of, why this happened. Because obviously Linares was the chosen one in this fight. This was essentially a, okay, keep me busy fight. They expected him to win. Who did not expect him to win? And they put him in there with Cano, and maybe Linares didn't train hard enough. Or maybe he didn't train as hard as he did for the Lomachenko fight. He's like, oh, okay, and I can go in there and go through the fundamentals, and I'll find him, and I'll get the W. And once he got hit by Cano on that first shot, I think he was like, holy crap.
It rocked him. You could see.
Yeah. I think after that, his game plan went out the window. He was like, man, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
I'll give respect to Cano, because before the fight, he even said to the media, he's like, hey, I'm going to go in there, and I'm just going to put it on him. And as soon as that first belt went, he just went straight over to Linares, and that was it. He was just throwing punches.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like Cano got into that fight, on a huge winning record, because he'd actually been stopped himself. Recently in the last couple of fights, he was beaten by Marcelino Nicolas Lopez at Fantasy Springs, I think that was that.
Yeah.
And then also by Fidel Maldonado Jr.
Fidel Castro?
Oh. That was a split decision, and I think that was also at Fantasy Springs, so local to us. So he'd lost 2 out of his last 4. So
I think, and I because we were texting right after this fight, and I said, you know what, he should never move to 140.
He admitted that he's going to go back down. He said that the power.
Yeah, he was so adamant. He was so adamant when we talked to him at Fantasy Springs against Abner Cotto after his win. He said, look, I'm not going back to 135 unless there's a big money fight. Mikey, Loma. He's like, other than that, I'm staying at 140. And I was like, okay, if 140 is a little bit more easier to navigate at the moment in terms of competition. Like, yeah, there's guys, Jose Ramirez and stuff. There's good fighters there, but, there's no Mikey Garcia, there's no Lomachenko. So, he might have an easier time in getting a belt up there. And, so I understood that move. But I think it's ironic that now he says, like, oh, yeah, maybe I should go back to 135. I guess, Cano just looked huge. Ridiculous.
I think going back to 135 will be better for him, but I think the only problem he has is he's going to be going back over old ground. Unless he goes back over to England and just starts like whipping a few of the guys over there like he did for a couple of years. If he goes back to 135, he's really just going to have to fight either, people like Lomachenko that he's fought before.
What about Davis? Didn't Davis just move up?
See, Davis would be a good fight. If Davis, gets the win against Abner Mares, that would be a good fight.
Is that at 135?
Yeah, Abner moved up.
It is, right? Okay, yeah.
And then, if Mikey does decide to come back down, if he does lose to Errol Spence and comes back down, that would be a great fight. Apart from that, he's going to be fighting people coming up like your Teofimo Lopez's.
Right.
But either way, he's at that stage in his career, and I guess that he's going to have to choose which path he's going to take. I don't want to see him become, like a gatekeeper, as they say. Mm-hmm. Something that maybe Broner's going to be now.
We'll touch on that later.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the word that I associate with him now. I don't know. I like Linares. I've liked Linares for a lot of years now. He's obviously in Japan. He's promoted by Taken Promotions, in association with Golden Boy and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I hope this was a fluke. I like Linares. I like watching him fight. The way he moves in there, his fundamentals and everything. I hope he comes back, but who knows? Who knows? So, we've seen guys come back and not come back from losses. They're just like, well, where'd that come from? And it just messes with them so bad that they just can't recover enough mentally, and then it just starts affecting their physical ability, and it just goes downhill from there. So I don't know. We'll see how that pans out for him. But guarantee you his next fight's going to be at 135. It just depends against who, but we'll see. We'll see. And then moving on to my favorite and yours, the gatekeeper, Adrien Broner, in a losing effort to 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas on Showtime pay-per-view. Landing an average of eight punches per round. 8 punches per round. And then he challenges Showtime interview Jim Gray after the fight. Says he'd be 7-0 against him. And Jim Gray says, "Oh, that's not going to be impressive to anybody." What happened there? We both picked Pacquiao,
mm-hmm.
and then you kept saying like, "Oh, Broner's starting to warm to me," and then and then we kept talking about like, no, I kept telling you Pacquiao's going to take it, and then you were just like, "Oh, I don't know, Broner does have that," and I said, "Don't give me a but. Don't give me a but." This is why I told you not to give me a but.
See, it literally went the way everybody expected. Manny Pacquiao, 12 rounds, unanimous decision.
What else? Was nothing happened. Nothing.
It was that one-sided. Even Clarissa Shields couldn't pick Adrien Broner.
Even Clarissa Shields.
And she always backs, her friends in boxing.
Right.
So even she didn't side with AB afterwards. And I was so shocked that interview that he gave afterwards, he generally looked like he thought he won.
You don't think it was an act? I think that was an act. I think that was an act, but he has his finger on the pulse in terms of the business side of things, the marketing side of things. I think that was an act. And people say, "Oh, I don't know. I think he actually
he looked genuinely
I don't think he believed it. I don't think 100% he believed it, but come on, man. Like, he knows that he got to this level because of his personality. He did.
I think, all the stuff around boxing, the stuff that he does, the craziness, the stuff that he puts on Instagram, all I believe is an act, especially when you see him on Showtime, because when, before when he was doing some of the interviews and he actually spoke, I thought, you know what, he is actually kind of switched on in, the way that he does stuff, his social media side. And one of the crazy things about it was Cunningham, I think going into the 12th round, where he was just telling him, he's like, hey, you need to catch him when he's coming in. You need to catch him when he's coming. You need to, throw a few more punches. And I'm thinking, dude, he needs to knock him out.
Oh, yeah. He needs to knock
I think
him
he's
out.
surrounded by too many yes men. That's his problem,
That's why I told you, we talked about, that he needs a disciplined trainer, a hard-ass trainer. And we talked about Kevin Cunningham, this was his second fight with him. And yeah, he's got discipline. But like, when I knew that Broner was because he needs one of those trainers that takes no bull in training camp, where the trainer is the boss.
Like Nacho.
Yeah. Or even Abel Sanchez. Sanchez and stuff like that. Guys like that. I knew I think it was the press conference before, the final press conference before the fight, when Al Bernstein, Showtime's Al Bernstein, was trying to ask Broner a question, and Broner was like, nah. He's like, I don't want to mess with you. And I'm making it a lot more PG. He said it a lot more vulgar than that, but he's like, I don't want to answer any questions from you. He's like, you've been talking crap about me on Twitter for years. And Al Bernstein was like, what are you talking about? And then, Al Bernstein was like, okay, well, let me ask your trainer something. And then, that's where we get which is going to be used for a while, the gang.
Yeah.
Broner was like, nah. He's like, don't you understand? He's like, nobody's going to talk to you from my team. He's like, he kept saying that word gang, which is essentially saying, this is all, we're all in this together, double the gang. And then Bernstein tries to ask a question to Kevin Cunningham, and Kevin Cunningham doesn't know what to do. He's just like, I don't know. Like, he just puts his hands up, and they're like, okay. That told me right there. I was like, oh, that solidified my opinion last show, saying he's not going to change. It's the same story with him. It's the same story with him. He needs there was one shot where he caught Pacquiao. It was like an uppercut. Yeah. Pacquiao was coming in with that faint jab, and then that straight left. And Broner kind of, parried out of the way, got him with the right uppercut, kind of glazed him, but then he got him with an overhand left, which was the best shot that he landed throughout the fight. Other than that, that was it. That was it. The shots that Pacquiao landed on him, there was a couple that actually pushed him back.
He had him in trouble. Was it the 7th?
Was it the 7th or the 9th?
Where he had Broner backing up. And, Pacquiao caught him a few times coming in, but I think the problem was Pacquiao kept jumping in the whole time. Yeah. And Gervonta Davis actually had, in my opinion, he had the right style. He'd picked the right game plan where he was kind of fighting on the back foot. Yeah. He was just kind of waiting for Pacquiao to kind of he would kind of jump forward and kind of lean forward into his shots at some time, which is the problem with when Marquez caught him. Right. Marquez caught him coming in, obviously knocked him out. And, Davis had that plan, but he just didn't throw enough punches. Even when he did catch him, like you said, he didn't follow it up. Right. He was trying to had a Floyd Mayweather plan, but just didn't have the Floyd Mayweather skill set.
Right. I mean, oh man, this is ridiculous. How many conversations have we had, and not just us, but people in the boxing circles, boxing fans, critics, media, anything. And probably even promoters behind the scenes. Oh yeah, if Broner just lets his hands go, if he would let his hands go, or he would have did this, he would have did that. He has all the talent in the world. He could do it. He's a 4-division world champ. We don't know what he needs to tone it down on his partying life and on his personality, and put all that focus into the ring, into the training. And stop saying that. It's beating a dead horse.
But do you know the weird thing is that we all say that and everyone agrees that, and then he's still a 4-weight world champion.
Yeah, but
kind of.
Well, he is. He is.
Technically.
You can't dispute that. He is. Yeah. On paper, he is. But like we mentioned earlier, I'm going back to it. He's been a world title holder.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
they were carefully selected opponents.
Who's his most signature win? Paulie Malignaggi?
Yeah, faded Paulie. And even that was a close fight.
fight. Paulie, gave him some trouble.
Yeah.
But is that his signature win? I mean,
yeah, I would say so.
If he gets if these pay-per-view numbers come out, because they charge $75 for this stuff. If these pay-per-view numbers come out and they, exceed expectations, if this does 500,000, what was the number they were looking for? Do you know?
It was somewhere between, I believe, the Tyson Fury and Wilder. So you're looking at, I think they needed 250 to break even. Between 250 to 300,000 to break even, I heard.
Okay.
Because the purses were so big.
Right.
Pacquiao,
I think, was guaranteed $10 million.
Guaranteed, yeah.
Guaranteed. And then Broner was guaranteed, I think, 2.5 or something like that. And then
he's under the table, PBC, Uncle Heyman's.
Yeah. And then, they get a share of the profits and stuff. And I mean, you're right, though. Like, I saw some people on Twitter like, Andre Ward actually called out one of the media members who reported the purses.
Dan Rafael.
I don't know if it was Dan Rafael. I think it was.
He always does it. He always. Well, they always.
A lot of people always do it. The athletic commission. They make it public, which I understand. And Andre Ward, kind of going on a tangent here. Andre Ward called out and he's like, I don't think that's right. You guys should talk about each other's money. And then he went back and forth with one of the press guys and said, like, people, it's interesting to people. This is a part of the game. And then I think they referenced, like, look at Mayweather Pacquiao. Look how much money they make. You don't think that's an interesting fact for people to know? Like, these guys made $200-300 million in, how many minutes of work? And it is, like, I agree with that. It's interesting. And especially when you got technically the athletic commission, what a lot of people forget is a state respective agency, in terms of their government. So, there's tax dollars involved in a sense from when they're working and everything. And I know they're not paying the fighters' purses and stuff like that, but essentially there's regulatory bodies in there in terms of government. So, whatever. I'm sure there's people's opinions. I see Andre Ward's point, but I don't know. This whole Broner thing, I'm telling you, that was an act. You really think that was real, saying he thought he won?
Just the way that he acted, and, he is crazy enough to believe that. I think he thought to himself, I stuck to my game plan. I did what I was kind of told to do, and that was enough to make me win. Because, I think in his head, he thought that, like, doing that was enough. I don't look at Broner and I think to myself, he's a boxing historian, Nope. He sits there. He's not like a Tyson Fury where you could sit down with someone like a Tyson Fury and go all the way back to, legendary fighters, your Marcianos, your Johnsons and stuff like that. And he knows their style. He can name a lot of their fights. I think even Broner in the Showtime interview, he kind of picked boxing because he thought it was either that or doing drugs and then, selling drugs and going back to jail.
Robbing people and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think he just did it, to get himself out of the hood and all that sort of stuff. I don't think he knows boxing that well. He doesn't seem to have a great boxing brain. And then also, by the looks of it, he doesn't really like to get hit.
Right.
As soon as Pacquiao hit him, and I think it was the 7th, pretty much for the last 5 rounds, the rounds where he needed to turn it on and go for the knockout, he pretty much ran.
Right.
In the 12th, he literally ran around the ring for 3 minutes just to get away from him. So, I think and then having that huge group, the gang, like you just kind of touched on, I think having that and a load of yes men around him, in his brain, he probably did think he won.
Oh yeah. And then, I know he gets mad and people say like, you're trying to be like Floyd and stuff like that. But there's a huge difference between him and Floyd Mayweather. Like Floyd Mayweather, like, yeah, he did the marketing side of it. He played the villain. He showed off his money. He did this. He did that. He went to the these adult strip clubs and whatever. And he had the personality side, but that guy can train his ass off. Like he knew when he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke and stuff. I don't think Broner does either, but or maybe he does. I just forgot, but I feel like he doesn't. But Mayweather was, in terms of there's levels, and him and Broner should never be compared in the same breath. And I know people were talking about like, oh yeah, if Broner wins, Broner could probably get the Mayweather fight. Like, oh what? Like, come on. And whatever. I'm done talking about Broner. Because we said it, and there's people who are like, oh, he could have a chance. No. He was put on there for ratings. Who's Sam Watson. Sam Watson, PBC, who's always right there in the ring. Him and his twin sons, right there in the middle of the action, on camera, post fights, pre fights, everything. When Broner was giving that that post-fight interview to Jim Gray, if you watch Sam Watson's face, just utterly just like, what are you doing, kid? Like, like he's just look at his face. You know, if you're guys listening to this, you know, go to the post-fight interview. It should be on YouTube, Showtime, or on their Twitter, and just watch it for Sam Watson's, like, you know, just, it's not even a reaction. It's just kind of like, you know, nothing. He's just kind of standing there as he's listening to Broner, just like, I would really want to be in his head at that moment.
Would you say he's gatekeeper status now, kind of like we touched on before? Is that hit?
You know what? I'm gonna. Okay. To be a gatekeeper, you usually have to. He's in Robert Guerrero, Andre Berto territory now. I've
heard rumblings already that
he's been there. He's been there. He sells. That's what it is. It's right. That's happening now with like Ryan Garcia right now. Ryan Garcia can't. I don't want to say he can't fight. Obviously, he can fight if he got to this level, but the business side of things, he's marketable and it's working for them. So I understand. So you can't tell me that he's getting these. You know, he's being put on these DAZN cards in New York and Canelo and stuff like that because of his skill set. He sells tickets. You know, it's marketing. It's the same thing with Broner. They know it. And I get it. You have to make money, and this is a pay-per-view event. I understand. But with Broner, oh man, I'm just sick of it. I'm just sick of it with Broner. Like, you know, he just, you know, I don't even want to say, people say, oh, he has all the talent in the world, but you know, he just, for some reason, just doesn't, you don't like, whatever. I'm sick of saying all these excuses and everything. That's why this last fight was like, nope, don't give me a but. Don't give me a but here, because this is exactly what happened.
I'm hearing rumblings already that Broner's next fight will be the winner of our buddy John Molina Jr. and Omar Figueroa, because it's obviously PBC.
I guess. I mean, and what? And then what? You know? Just have all those guys fight each other.
Well, that's what PBC do.
I mean, I don't know.
They keep it in-house. We know that, you know. They pretty much signed the whole of the welterweight division and just kept them hostage, just wheeling them out. Fight.
Just have Molina, Figueroa, Victor Ortiz, Berto, Broner all fight each other over the next 5 years. Just rotate them.
Because Molina, if Molina wins that fight,
and I hope Molina cleans out all of them.
Because that would be a rematch. I mean, he's already fought Broner.
No, yeah, I know.
And then Broner and Omar Figueroa were supposed to fight last year, but then Omar Figueroa got a DUI, and Broner was it? I'm trying to think which court case it was.
It was in 2 states.
It was either a domestic violence one, or it might have been that fight he had in Vegas. So the fight got cancelled last Easter.
Yeah.
So
whatever. You know, I was looking forward to this conversation since Saturday. So, or since the fight at least. So whatever.
Before we move on though, who do you think for Pacquiao?
You know what? I wasn't even going to touch on that.
No,
because I know Floyd. The most entertaining part of that post-fight was when they were asking Pacquiao. Jim Gray was asking Pacquiao about Mayweather, and then as he's asking him, the camera goes to Floyd Mayweather, and then like it's like he expected it, and then he just casually turns his head and just looks at the camera, like seducing the camera. And then just throws up the number 1. That was the best part of the post-fight right there, because it was just hilarious. He just turns at the camera like all nonchalantly and just looks like, yeah, I'm right here. That was hilarious. I was dying right there. So whatever, you know, obviously they're laying the groundwork. They're laying the groundwork. They're seeing the demand. They're seeing if the demand's there. So, you know, if the demand's there, and then they're going to keep throwing out stuff, and they're trying to feel it out, measure it. Like, okay, can we get another at least, you know, maybe 2 million buys, 1.5 at least? They're testing the waters. That's what, you know, because the Mayweather could have been like, yeah, let's do it, but you know, they're testing it because they don't want to pull the trigger yet. Because, you know, how stupid would they look if they did it and they get 500,000 buys or something like that, you know? So whatever, you know, we're not going to touch on that just because if it happens again, obviously we're going to watch it. You know, people will say, oh, I don't want to watch it and stuff like that. I mean, I pick Mayweather again. So, but if it happens, we'll touch on it again. If it doesn't, I hope Pacquiao fights guys like Thurman. I hope he fights Thurman, honestly, you know, especially to throw it in Thurman. Yeah.
I think if it's not Floyd, I think Danny Garcia. I think Danny Garcia has a slightly similar to Broner. Kind of sits back, goes for the counter the whole time. Obviously, you're always looking for that left hook. He looks a little bit slower, a little bit not washed, but he looks like he's kind of reached his peak and he's coming back down again. So I could see, if not Floyd, I could see him fighting Danny Garcia over Thurman, because Thurman's obviously said that 2019 is a comeback year.
That's why they should throw Thurman in there with Pacquiao. Let Pacquiao beat him. I don't know. That would be an extra interesting fight, but I don't know. Thurman's pissing me off, but we're gonna have a whole show dedicated in the future just talking about how pissed off I am at Thurman, because I like Thurman, and now he's like, oh yeah, 2019 is my comeback. What? You've been out of the ring for almost 2 years.
They should make him fight somebody of name.
Yeah, he's got a world title. Like, come on, man. Like, whatever. So I hope Pacquiao fights one of these, like Porter, Garcia. I hope. Those are intriguing matches, but, could be a Mayweather fight. And most likely, I think it's like a 75% chance it'll be a Mayweather fight. So moving on to that card, Marcus Brown stops Badu Jack. Didn't we both pick Jack?
Yeah, we both went Jack.
Man, did you see that? Okay, if you got our listeners, if you guys didn't watch that fight, I'm not even telling you to watch that fight. Yeah, it was a good fight, but just Google Badu Jack on Twitter or something. That gash that they got from that headbutt, that clash of heads. Holy crap!
How the referee Tony Weeks didn't stop that, especially I think it was
huge.
They clashed heads in round 7, and it opened up eventually a 5-inch gash right in the middle of his head. I think it was in round 10.
Ridiculous.
I think it was round 10 where Badu Jack was, he had to go over to the doctor to kind of wipe it away. The blood was running. It was running into his eye.
It was nasty. Like literally, if he would have got hit like a crazy like a follow-up shot into that spot, I don't even know what would have happened, because that gash was huge. Like you literally probably could have put fingers in there and touched his brain.
I'm sure everybody's seen it. It's been all over social media. It was a pretty big gash, and then
it was nasty.
Tony Weeks, there's another good photograph of him.
He's all bloodied.
His blue shirt was pretty much red.
But how many times have we seen referees in bloodied fights like that? And that's always a signature picture for a photographer who's at ringside. Take a picture of the referee all bloodied. That just shows you, like, hey, you don't even have to see the fight. That just shows you what a war that was.
It was just crazy because you've seen fights, stopped for cuts that were a lot smaller than that.
Right.
So to me, the fact that they didn't stop it, respect to Badu Jack, because he even said that if just the cut in the 7th round didn't affect the fight. He could have used that as an excuse to get out of there, which he didn't. Badu Jack, even before the cut, didn't really look that great. He always starts really slowly.
He looked 35 years old.
He did. He looked 35 years old, and he's had a lot of 12-round decision fights that that seem to have taken a little bit from him. And then I think Marcus Brown jumped on the fact that Badu Jack starts really, really, really slowly every single fight.
Oh yeah, he jumped on that.
It takes him a few rounds to get the gears going and kind of get into the fight. Went exactly the way it should have done. Was 117, 110, 116, 111, 119, 108. Brown got the unanimous decision. He also lost a point, and I think it was round 7 for holding. He kept kind of weirdly just like holding Badu Jack's arm. Did you see that?
I saw that.
Kept wrapped in his arm around his arm. It's kind of
like they wanted a swing dance or something.
Yeah, it was kind of a strange one, but good win. I picked Badu Jack. So did you?
Yeah, I picked Badu Jack.
I didn't see this.
I don't know. Congratulations to Marcus Brown. Now he's got a world title, and obviously he's gonna, have some people coming for him. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. Last world title fight for the vacant WBC bantamweight title. Okay, they kept repeating his name on the broadcast, and these guys actually fought in the Olympics, right?
Yeah, they fought as amateurs, that's right.
As amateurs, right? Years before. Okay, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember how they pronounce his name. How do you pronounce his name again?
I think it's Obali.
He's French, right?
Yeah, Nordine Obali, I believe.
Yeah, Nordine Obali gets the unanimous decision win over Roush.
I think it's Roshi Warren.
Roshi Warren. and gets the WBC bantamweight world title. Nordine Oubaali actually had Roy Jones in his corner. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he gets the W with by scores of 115, 113, 160, 112, and 117, 111. I like that fight.
It was a good fight.
I didn't really know either guys, but I was like, okay, it's a world championship fight. Let's check it out. I liked it. I was entertained by it.
It was definitely a close fight. You could see how Warren had been in so many fights that were kind of like split decisions, just the way that he fights. And even this, I found really hard to score. I thought it was like a 115, 113. And to be honest with you, depending on the style of fighting that you like, you could have scored it either way.
Right.
It was really, really, really close fight. It was good to see Oubaali, though, he got the W, moved on to bigger and better things, especially having
someone... He was very grateful. You can tell him in the post-fight interview and stuff. He seemed very grateful.
Yeah, it was good. And then it's obviously good to see, Roy Jones have somebody in his stable picking up a world title.
Oh, yeah. He was probably like, yeah, this is awesome.
It's good for him, to get out there because obviously, he's a big name in the sport. So
right.
It'd be good to see him, just have a good stable of fighters underneath him. Especially, if they're picking up his style, picking up a lot of the experience he's had over the years because he was, one of my favorite fighters growing up.
Right. Well, yeah. Let's see how it goes. Good, congratulations to Roy Jones. He's got I think that's his. Is he probably the only world champion he has in his stable right now?
I believe so. A lot of his other fighters are like smaller, up and coming names in his promotion.
So hey, that's cool, man. Moving on, fight preview this Saturday, the 26th, from Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Another DAZN card. Jaime Munguia, 154-pound world titleist, versus Inoue. No, not that Inoue. That guy's like 40 pounds less. Not the monster. Takashi Inoue, 13-0-1, fighting for Munguia's WBO super welterweight title. I don't really know too much about Inoue. I know about the monster Inoue.
Which I believe is his cousin, I think.
They are, right? I read some about that they're like related in somehow.
I think it's his cousin, not his brother.
So, I'm picking Munguia.
I think it's another fight for Munguia to look good. Takashi.
Who are they building him up for? Of course, they're building up his name. He's a young guy. He's got a world title. But who are they?
Down the line.
Who are we prepping this kid for?
Well, how many fights do you think he has left in that weight division? That's the thing.
Well, that's why they're probably talking about you're going to have to move to 160, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they ask him after this, hey, Eddie Hearn said last week that Andrade, you're a potential opponent. Are you willing to move to 160? He says, yeah, I'll do it. I'll fight for the WBO world title. I mean, hey, it could happen. It could happen.
I think later down the line, I think he's still a little bit further away from actually stepping up. Even though he's a world champion, I think I said this at the time, he still needs some work. He still needs to be kind of polished. He got a good challenger when he fought Saddam Ali, just went in there and blew him away because of the size difference. He's had Liam Smith. Liam Smith put up a good battle against him, and he's actually just recently signed for Eddie Hearn, and he said he would actually like the rematch because he said he saw a few flaws in Munguia, which he thinks, later down the line he could take advantage of.
I can see him actually. I mean, Munguia's a big kid with a lot of power, but
at the minute, that's kind of what he relies on.
Yeah.
Because he's fighting, guys, C-level, B-level fighters. But like you said, I think later down the line, around that sort of weight division, I think he's going to have to move up. And, fighting Canelo, Mexican against Mexican would be a good fight down the line. Fighting Callum Smith at the super middleweight, because obviously he holds all the titles. So I think those are the ones in the future. But at the minute, I still see that he needs some polishing. His footwork's lacking. He's got the punch power. But I think he needs to work on his combinations. He needs to work on his defense. And I think he needs to work on his feet. He stands in the pocket too long. He throws, but he never really has to get out of the pocket because normally he's so powerful that he puts people away. When he fights somebody, a similar size to him who can take those punches, he's going to throw, but he's still going to be there. So he's going to get someone, who's actually going to be hitting him back for once.
Yeah.
Because even, Liam Smith,
I mean, he had trouble with Liam Smith at times.
he had trouble getting him out of there, and he also had trouble with Liam Smith hitting him back. But Liam Smith isn't exactly known as a big puncher.
No, he's not.
So, if he
but
fights...
he's a boxer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if he fights someone, more his own size with the punching power, it'd be interesting. So it'll definitely be good to see.
Put him in there with Charlo. Let's see what's up. Charlo's coming off a loss.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to fight the Charlos. Even Jarrett Hurd, someone big. That'd be a great fight.
Jarrett Hurd would be insane.
Just put him in the center of the ring and let him just knock each other around the ring.
Moving on that card, Jesus Rojas, 26-2-2 versus Can Xu. Yes, that's his name. C-A-N, last name X-U. Can Xu. That's funny. WBA featherweight world. It's a world title bout? WBA featherweight?
Yep.
Really? I thought who had that title before? Somebody vacate that?
It's a good question. I'd have to
unless it was
pull it up on BoxRec.
Oh, was it Mahrez?
Oh well, Mahrez. Yeah, it might be Mahrez when he stepped up.
He moved up. He probably vacated it.
Well, Mahrez for obviously Leo Santa Cruz. So I'm trying to.
Oh yeah, because Santa Cruz was like the super, and then Mahrez was the regular, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The alphabet titles. Come on, man. I'll check that fight out. Hopefully, it's exciting. Obviously, the younger weight, the lower weight classes are always pretty exciting. So let's see how that one pans out. And then friend of the show, who was actually on several weeks ago, first heavyweight bout under Golden Boy Promotions. James the Beast Wilson, 6-0 versus Sylvester Barron, 9-10-1. And Barron has been in the ring with the likes of Jarrell Miller, Charles Martin, LaRon Mitchell. This is, like I said, this is his first fight with Golden Boy. I hope he knocks him out.
I think he will. I think, fighting for Golden Boy is going to be probably a picked an opponent.
Dang it, I forgot, too, that I talked to his trainer, Justin Fortune, Fortune Gym in Hollywood. I talked to him at the Pacquiao workout, and I actually got a couple words from him, but I forgot I had it on my phone. So I apologize to our listeners that we didn't include this in this week's episode. But maybe we'll include it next week, even though it's going to be after the fight. But it's interesting words. I asked him about James the Beast Wilson. He said he's putting in the work. The train camp's going good. He really likes him, and he's doing his thing. He's a big kid. He's putting in the work. So, dang it, I just remember that too. Now I'm going to be mad at myself for the rest of the night. This sucks.
Ex-fighter himself, Justin Fortune. He was a heavyweight.
Right.
For people who don't know, over in Australia, and now has a gym in
Hollywood.
In Hollywood, yeah.
Yeah. So
but that should be a good fight, I think, for anybody that just likes a big heavyweight fight. You likes to watch a knockout. James the Beast Wilson is that style of fighter. So I'm hopefully that'll be on TV.
Yeah,
I'm hoping you could catch that.
I hope so.
That'll be earlier on the DAZN card.
DAZN. So seems like a pretty solid card. I'm excited. See how that one pans out. And then also on the 26th from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, PBC on Fox. Keith, one time every 2 years, Thurman returns for the first time since his win over Danny Garcia against Josecito Lopez. This is for the WBA Super World Welterweight world title.
A made-up belt, another made-up title.
That's ridiculous. First fight since March 2017. Like I said, when he defeated Danny Garcia. 2 years. I was almost 2 years.
He's been out, he says, with a hand injury and then a elbow injury. So he's had 2 operations in that time.
I mean, I'm saying, whatever. Doctors say like, oh, you need. But I don't get it, man. I don't get it. What's going on here? What's going on here? And then like we touched on earlier, he said that 2019 is going to be his comeback year. He's got a world title, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to have some comeback fights. Honestly, if that's what he's calling it, put him against Broner. Like, have him fight Josecito Lopez, and then put him against Broner following this fight.
Yeah.
Do it in the summer. Put him against Broner. Just do it. At least that's more intriguing than him fighting, somebody else. Come on, man. Like,
I would agree that would be a fight people would like to see. I just hope that Thurman having all that time off, and he had a few interviews where I was kind of contemplating whether he still had the heart for it. You know, it's kind of like he won the title. Then he beat Danny Garcia. He'd kind of reached the peak. He started traveling a lot. He looked a little bit overweight, you know. Then obviously he gets injured again.
Right.
And then he comes back and then he says, you know, 2019 is just going to be a comeback year. I want to have one fight and I want to have another warm-up fight. And then, you know, we'll look at maybe fighting Errol Spence and Crawford next year. One thing I will give him is at least he doesn't lie to you. He doesn't tell you one thing and then do another.
No.
You know, which a lot of people do. I respect him for that. But at the same time, you kind of think to yourself, dude, like, you know, you're holding up the division.
Yeah. I mean, at least he gave up the WBC belt, you know, but like WBA was like, oh, yeah, you can still hold on to that one. Like,
we'll just change the name of it to the World Super.
Yeah. The Super Mario World title belt. So, I don't know. I mean, in terms of resume, though, yeah, he's first fight in like almost 2 years, but he has fought in terms of the welterweights right now. He probably has one of the better resumes. He's fought Porter. He's fought Garcia. Who else has he been in there with?
Let me just pull up his box record. I'll tell you. You know, I mean, fighting Danny Garcia was a good fight because I think that was the one that everyone kind of thought that, you know, he was going to try and avoid. He's been in there with Robert Guerrero. Been in there with Louis Collazo back in the day.
Collazo hurt him too. I remember that fight.
Leonard Bundu, when Bundu was unbeaten. Julio Diaz. Jesus Soto Caras, he's fought everybody.
He has, yeah.
Those are the names of note that he's fought over the last few years. So it'd be interesting to see, you know, because at the time when he was coming up, Thurman, I was a fan. You know, he has a fan-friendly style. He speaks well. You know, he definitely knows how the business works. I'll give him that. He's just trying to see, you know, now that he's had a title for a few years, just to see what he has left, you know, whether he still has that hunger to succeed. So I'm hoping that he fights, you know, Josecito Lopez, and then hopefully he does step it up to maybe like a C level or a B level fight down the line, you know.
If Thurman can come back and knock him out, Josecito Lopez like knock him out and like do it like an emphatic fashion, like, yeah, I'm here. That is gonna show like, hey, you know, yeah, I'm back. I can, you know, I never left, pretty much. But if it's like a cruise control and, you know, decision win and stuff like that, which it could be, you know, he's probably going to be a little bit timid. But if he comes back and he just finds that mean streak, I think that's the best outcome for him in terms of going into the future. So, but, you know, he's obviously they're going to. I think by the end of the year he's going to be in there with one of the bigger welterweight names. So
I hope so. He needs to be.
I hope he gets in there with Crawford.
You know, 2020, you know, I think he's going to have to, you know, if he comes back and, you know, they let him have a get back year.
2020. We just started 2019. It's ridiculous.
You know, it'd be interesting to see what they do. They in my opinion, they shouldn't let him. I think the WBA should force him into fighting, you know, his mandatories.
Yeah. Well, you know, how many times have we said that? Get these sanctioning bodies to fight your mandatories. You know, the only one who actually really enforces it, at least to a better extent, is the IBF. So, but we'll see. We'll see. News and notes. Final flurries of this episode 18 of the last round. Wilder versus Fury could be on April 27th or May 4th. May 4th? Isn't that Canelo's date?
Exactly. That's why I was kind of surprised when I read that. That's what Frank Warren said. He believes end of April or maybe May 4th. You can count out May 4th. I mean, they're not going to put it in.
No, they're not.
Against
Canelo
and Jacobs. So maybe the week before, was it the April 27th or something like that?
I think it's going to land in New York.
I would like Vegas because it's close to me and
you.
Well,
yeah, we would like Vegas, but I think it's going to land in New York.
You think there's more fans there?
Yeah, let a lot of the Brits come over.
Yeah.
Because it's only about, what, maybe a 6-hour flight?
Yeah, 6-7 hour flight, yeah. Whereas obviously like Vegas is you're looking at 10, 11 hours.
Yeah.
But Vegas, you know, is where the money's at, you know, the less tax. So that could always be an option. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure the British fans would like Las Vegas.
They should, you know, and then Anthony Joshua, I don't know. And then they're talking about Klitschko possibly coming back. What you know, what's going on around here? What's going on? Like, I don't know.
Supposedly the rumor is Klitschko's coming back, 3-fight deal with DAZN, a warm-up fight to begin with, and then a rematch down the line with Tyson Fury and a rematch with Anthony Joshua.
That's insane. And I like Klitschko too. I like him. When he fought, even when he lost to Joshua, he still looked great. He just lost. And it wasn't like he was, I still think that could have been a premature stoppage. When Joshua beat Klitschko.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, I said it because
always hating on these Brits, Danny Z.
I'm not hating, but I don't know. I think Klitschko should just stay retired because he went out on his sword. That's the best way to go out. In front of 100,000 people at Wembley Stadium. The old lion versus the young lion. They both knock each other down. I don't know.
That's what divorce does to you. He's getting divorced from that Hayden Pantier, that little.
Are they getting divorced?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That sucks. So maybe he is coming back.
Needs that money.
Dang, that sucks. I didn't know that. Okay, I'll change my mind. Then he's probably coming back. But man, I didn't know that. He's definitely coming back now. Yeah. That sucks.
Must need the money.
Yeah, that divorce money. No, that's no fun. But yeah, I like Klitschko, and if he comes back, I haven't seen him lately. Hopefully he's still in shape, but he was always very disciplined.
Yeah, that was the thing about both of those guys, Vitaly and Vladimir. Both of them always stayed in shape.
Yeah.
Always came to the ring, in shape. Always had good cardio. They are very, very disciplined. So if he comes back, I hope if he does, I hope it's not an embarrassment. Yeah. I hope he doesn't, get in the ring with some journeyman, struggle 12 rounds, and then get in there with Fury, lose to Fury, and then lose to Joshua.
Joshua should fight. If he doesn't get Wilder or Fury, I know they'll probably put it in there with Jerome Miller or Dillian White. I get it, but honestly, they should throw a curveball and throw Luis Ortiz at him.
That's all wrong for Joshua, though.
It is.
It's all wrong.
It is, but throw a curveball in there, just like, hey, boom, there it is.
Well, Eddie Hearn, if you remember, he actually signed Luis Ortiz a few years back to Matchroom, and I think that was so Joshua could avoid him.
Yeah, we can speculate, but we'll never know. But another episode in the books, 18. We're coming up on 20 episodes since we've been doing this. Sometime in the middle of last year is when we started. We haven't had a guest in a while. We got to get a guest. I know some people reached out. We could reach out to some people and try to get them on. Hopefully we get Joan Zepeda, who fights Jose Ramirez on February 10th for Ramirez's WBC 140-pound world title. So we might get him on, talk about his upcoming fight. First world title fight. Could be big if he stops top ranks Jose Ramirez. But Jose Ramirez is good. He's got talent. I like him. But we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. You want to give the final words here before we close it out?
Like I always say every week, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, just go on there and give us a review.
Give us something. Even if you just hit the stars, just give us something.
Yeah, just obviously the more interaction we have on there, the more reviews, the more exposure we get. Also, if you want to see anything on the show, don't forget about hitting us up on Twitter or Instagram at TheLastRound12.
Just let us know. Let us know who you want to see, what you want us to talk about. We try to touch as much stuff as we can in the sport because obviously there's a lot of stuff going on globally too. And it's just so difficult to touch on all this stuff. Even if we had like a 24-hour show, it'd still be difficult. So. But we'll, like I said, I'm Danny Z once again for Michael Shepard. This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Last Round Podcast.